The unity of Chattanooga is always a day of celebration here. So, in case nobody's told you today, you're special. In case nobody's made you believe you're special, well, I will always love you the same. You're special. So glad you're here with us, and maybe broken, but hey, you're still perfect. Oh, you're special. Oh, special. And come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, welcome home. You are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in. Oh, come on in. In case nobody's told you today, you're special. In case nobody's made you believe you're special, well, I will always love you the same. You're special. So glad you're here with us. Maybe broken, but hey, you're still perfect. Oh, I know that I'm not alone. Oh, so I thought that I'd let you know. Oh, in case nobody's told you today, you're special. In case nobody's made you believe you're special, well, I will always love you the same. You're special. So glad you're here with us. Maybe broken, but hey, you're still perfect. Oh, you're special. You gotta believe it. Oh, you're special.
Guess what, Landis?
Hey.
I think you're special and perfect too.
Hey. Wow.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity of Chattanooga Sunday Celebration Service. I can't begin to tell you how much I love this community, and it's all because of you, because you're my family and my friends. I also want to extend a warm welcome to all of you who are on Facebook this morning. I think it's wonderful that we can still share our oneness with each other, even in a virtual format. Be sure to let us know you're here by sharing comments and giving us a thumbs up. And share this message with your friends if it inspires you. Today, I'm joined by Landis Batts, our music man extraordinaire. And I also want to welcome back our AV technician, Shannon LeBron. Yeah. Since we weren't able to live stream the service on Facebook last week, if you would like to get a transcript of Doug's talk on Don Miguel Ruiz's final agreement, Always Do Your Best, you can send an email to contact@unityofchattanooga.org. And while Rev Doug is away spending the weekend or the week riding his Harley all across upstate New York with his brother, we have invited Audrey Ramsey to be our guest speaker today. At Unity of Chattanooga, we stand together in our core values of love, diversity, and inclusion. And we work together to create a world that works for all. We believe that there is one power and one presence by whatever name you give it, but we call it God, and that is love itself. We also believe in the law of mind action, which has a real cute nickname called the attractor factor. which says that your dominant thoughts and feelings draw like conditions to you. And we also teach that the presence of God is within each and every individual, and we connect with that divine presence through prayer and meditation. So at this time, I'd like to ask our prayer chaplain, Keith Noyes, to come up and open our service with prayer.
You're special, Linda.
You're special, Keith. Yeah.
We light the prayer candle as we settle into this essence. And this morning, as we slip into that place where love resides within, just take a moment and bring to mind someone that you consider special. Open your heart and send them a loving greeting from your heart to theirs. And know that this loving energy that fills you, that resides in you, flows to them. And however they are special in your life, honor that. And it doesn't have to be just one, it can be many. Just open your heart and let that love flow. It's a wellspring within you that once you open it up, you realize it's infinite, it's ever flowing, it's always with you. And you can share it. You can send love. Sometimes I find myself doing this as I drive down the road and I look over and I see somebody that just looks like they're in distress. And I just send love with my eyes, with my heart. And know that you too are special. All of us have that indwelling presence, that divine essence. And we honor that today. We honor that in our friends and our family and our loved ones that we consider special. And we take a moment to honor our own specialness. And in that moment, we realize that love means living our very essence. And so it is. And ever will be. Amen.
Finally, I am facing some fears I held inside, looking past what I avoided instead of just the high. Outside the world is turning, around it we go, all the while which way the wind will blow. But it makes me feel free, it makes me feel right, knowing that all we get in this life is nothing by chance. But for us to grow, sometimes we must step into the unknown. It makes me feel good, it makes me feel free, knowing there's somewhere deep within me, there's always a chance for me to grow. If I take the step into the unknown, every moment we are changing, growing as we go. And I find it so amazing, there's still so much to learn. But still I get that feeling that I am not alone, and together we can face it, the fear of the unknown. But it makes me feel free, it makes me feel right, knowing that all we get in this life is nothing by chance. But for us to grow, sometimes we must step into the unknown. It makes me feel good, it makes me feel free, knowing that somewhere deep within me, there's always a chance for me to grow. If I take the step into the unknown, we gotta make it through the changes. Whatever life will throw our way, we'll take it. Make the best of what you are, and don't ever forsake it, 'cause it's the only chance you got. We gotta make it through the changes. Whatever life will throw our way, we'll take it. Make the best of what you are, and don't ever forsake it, 'cause it's the only chance you got. It makes me feel free, it makes me feel right, knowing that all we get in this life is nothing by chance. But for us to grow, sometimes we must step into the unknown. It makes me feel good, it makes me feel free, knowing there's something deep within me, a chance to grow into the unknown. Oh, it makes me feel free, it makes me feel right, knowing that all we get in this life is nothing by chance. But for us to grow, sometimes we must step into the unknown. It makes me feel good, it makes me feel free, knowing that somewhere deep within me, there's always a chance for me to grow. If I take the step into the unknown.
Another good one.
There you go.
It really was a great song to go along with today's talk. Yeah. You know, we have so much talent here among us in our congregation, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about Audrey Ramsey. She is actually a native Chattanoogan who graduated from Brainerd High School. And from there, she set out at the age of 18 to become a broadcast journalist. She attended the Professional Academy of Broadcasting in Knoxville, and from there she traveled to Atlanta and passed the test for a radio operator's license with the Federal Communications Commission. While working at WGOW AM/FM radio in Chattanooga, she also completed her associate degree in journalism at Chattanooga State Community College. She then transferred to UT Knoxville and received a Bachelor of Science degree in communications with a major in broadcast and a minor in journalism. Audrey returned home to Chattanooga after graduating from UT, and she actually went to work for WRCB-TV as a broadcast journalist and as a morning and weekend news anchor. After 5 years, she switched gears a little and joined the Marketing and Corporate Communications Affairs division of ConocoPhillips in the oil and gas industry, which is a subsidiary of DuPont. After 20 years of working in this industry, Audrey took advantage of an opportunity to retire early. And after a joyful but boring year off, a headhunter called her back into the natural gas industry working in corporate communications. It only took a year this time before Audrey realized that she now felt a different calling. This time, she wanted to pursue a master's degree in education, focusing on curriculum and instruction. She began working as an adjunct professor at Tulsa Community College, and later she became an adjunct professor at Columbia State Community College in Columbia, Tennessee. After 6 years there, Audrey yielded to yet another calling. She came home to Chattanooga, where you will often hear her say, "I have come full circle thanks to the grace of God." In each of her moves, there was always a Unity Church close to her home and close to her heart. Audrey has been in Unity for 30 years plus and is deciding to make yet another career transition. And today, she's going to tell us all about that journey. Would you please extend a warm welcome to Audrey Ramsey.
Yes, thank you so much. And it is an honor and a joy for me to be here talking before you here at Unity of Chattanooga and on Facebook live streaming. To those of you who are with us on Facebook, let us know where you're from by putting your name in the chat box and where you're from. And Landis, oh my God, you nailed it. You nailed it with that song. And my friend Shannon is here. So Shannon, and I bug him when it comes to broadcasting. So thank you, Shannon. You're doing such a great job.
Yeah.
Now this will be a heart-to-heart discussion today. And we can do that here at Unity of Chattanooga because this is an environment of acceptance, compassion, and understanding as we dive into the issues to better understand the problems and both personal and societal problems I'm talking about, and then try to develop a real solution. And as we do this here at Unity of Chattanooga, we do it by engaging in real practical applications that bring us closer to the solutions of any problem. And we all know that every problem has a solution. Regardless of the problems I may think I have as an individual or the issues I may see as problems in the world around me, I can still smile. Even though I'm hurting, I can still smile. And in the words of Kirk Franklin and you've heard his music before, I'm sure, Kirk Franklin of Dallas, Texas, today is a new day. Even though it's raining outside, today is a new day. I smile. Even though I'm hurting, I smile because I know God is working. I know He's got my back. And in the midst of the struggles, I smile. And let's talk about why that is so. The world we live in today can be chaotic and confusing. It is a world filled with social injustices as they relate to police brutality, white supremacy, and now I'm reading about hate crimes committed by 2 African-American females up in New York just this morning. Violent crimes, gang violence, and social economic injustices such as homelessness, joblessness, And all of these issues are at crisis levels in this country. And they are the center core of our conscious awareness. All of these issues have combined and are now calling our attention to mental health issues and their causes. This type of awareness brings forth negative feelings toward humankind. And thanks to the proliferation of communication tools and social media, there is no escaping this type of awareness unless we completely unplug and go within. Tuning out the noise of the outer world is an art form. And this practice can change the negativity that seems to surround us. This power that we all possess within, and we at Unity know that, this power that we possess within, and with the grace of God, can lead us to a more powerful, positive, and more purposeful lifestyle of hope, compassion, and optimism. By focusing on right thinking and knowing my truth, my thoughts have opened a world of divine purpose, of peace and calm. I feel the presence of my God, the hope and the joy and the love every day. And no one can take that away from me. And you know, I thought I was onto something when I started the development of my nonprofit, the Chattanooga Aquatic Project and Personal Development. And I'll talk more about that later. But what I have come to realize is I am just starting to align with other like-minded, New Thought Christians who are ready for a change, and that change is here. And what this journey has done for me is open me up to an awareness that so few of us have experienced, or we get the opportunity to experience. Right here, right now, in Unity, our members may be small, but we are growing across the country and around the world. We at Unity are unique individuals, and we're not alone. This shift, this change that is now being discussed across the entire spectrum of various religious, spiritual, and communication platforms is real. Even on Facebook, we can delete the trolls who are destined to drag us down into that abyss of negativity. It is not about how many likes you can get. This shift is coming as more and more people are awakening to this universal truth of absolute truth. Recently, and I do mean literally a few days ago, I discovered that like-minded individuals are coming out and they are creating a practical, positive, and progressive platform through primarily social media. And this shift is introducing to some and presenting to others a knowledge based on absolute truth. And Unity of Chattanooga might very well be leading the way in this area of communications. So what is absolute truth? As I mentioned earlier, I am discovering other like-minded individuals outside of Unity. Recently, I picked up a book by Paul David Tripp. Never heard of him until a few days ago. The book is titled New Morning Mercies, a daily gospel devotion. Now here's what he says about these devotions in his introduction. Each morning I tweet 3 gospel thoughts. That is, I post 3 brief thoughts about Christian faith on the social media site Twitter. My goal is to confront people with the life-rattling truths of Jesus Christ. And we know that Christ is not his last name. We at Unity know that. And I won't go into the metaphysical meaning of his last name, Christ, but the title, but I will save that for another lesson. Paul goes on to say, I want people to see that the grace of the gospel is not so much about changing the religious aspects of their lives, but about everything in life that defines, identifies, and motivates them. I am calling people to see the gospel as a window through which they are to look at everything in life. And how ironic and how prophetic. We do live in a world of the internet, and the operating system is Windows. Now, this book was published in 2014, and I've been with Unity for some 30 years, and the messages of positive, practical, progressive Christianity is forever evolving since the founding of this Unity movement in the mid-1800s. I first joined Unity of Houston in Texas in the late 80s. In 2017, let's fast forward to 2017, I met my cousin who is in the people business. He's a doctor. I met Dr. Keith Ramsey, who lives in Louisiana, for the first time at a family Thanksgiving dinner in 2017. We knew of each other, but we didn't meet each other until 2017. After exchanging information, he began texting me every morning with a positive affirmation of encouragement. And it continues today. After his morning walks each day, he texts a group of us family members. These affirmations were so spiritual and so on point, I had to ask him, are you Unity? And of course he says no, but his messages are so new age thought. And since my return home, now 4 years, I'm experiencing change. Change in a more positive way, in the way I think, and I am aware of the feelings that have come from those thoughts. And I am very conscious of these feelings. Coming back home, yes, has brought me full circle. You see, 30 years ago, my brother was the victim of a fatal attraction. I've shared this with some of you guys. Nonetheless, he was murdered by a black female and a black male. Both were 18 years old, and my brother was 25, with so much potential ahead of him. On the other hand, I am learning from the court files in the Hamilton County Courthouse that she was a troubled young woman and she came from a very dysfunctional family. And the boy who was her accomplice, and he also had some very serious mental health issues that went untreated. I won't go into the details of the impact this trauma had on me and my family members. We loved my brother, and he did not deserve to die in this brutal manner. Revenge? You bet. I had revenge. But I had to let those feelings go. So did my family. We all had to let it go and move on with our lives. My dad, my siblings, and I had just buried my mother 9 years prior. She was young, age 40, heart attack. My father was recouping from his first heart attack when my brother was murdered. And I went through a divorce shortly after burying my brother. I just simply chose the wrong partner. So this 4-step plan that I want to share with you today is what got me through the pain and the struggle. It's more about how I managed to create a world of peace and calm and that has brought a balance between mind, body, and spirit. I have learned how to stop the sorrow and self-pity and stop the hate. By letting go of the worry and the negative thoughts and the thoughts that others may have of me, I can smile. And I smile each day because I know God is working. And as the late Maya Angelou poems remind me, you may write me down in history with your bitter lies, but still I rise. Just like Miss Angelou, I figured it out just as she did. I know that as long as I walk in God's grace, no one or nothing can be against me. And as long as I practice a routine of self-care, my mental being will remain healthy. Recently, I had someone say to me, "How do you do it?" Well, let's start here. By taking the unity principles and combining them with the 12 powers, I am creating a positive world based on positive thoughts, affirmative prayer, meditation, and yoga. It starts with self. My absolute truth is one of the 5 principles of unity, and that is simply God is good. God dwells within each and every one of us, and I feel his presence forever guiding me. I go within to listen to that guidance, and as I view the world through the lenses of love, that window of love, I know I will receive the direction to the path that leads me to my purpose, and that purpose is unveiled. This is meditation, as simple as that. I affirm who I am and what I want in prayer. Ask not, want not, seek and you shall receive. Then I am ready for my yoga practice, which today is more like walking. But that's very meditative. So let me take a few brief moments here and take you through the process of this 4-step strategy for achieving joy, what I'm calling the art of enthusiasm. And here at Unity, you all know that enthusiasm is one of the 12 powers we all possess. So step 1, self-awareness. For me, this path to a self-awareness begins with positive affirmations. I am a child of God, and the absolute truth is God is good all the time. Then I must also affirm that God is within me and I am good, right? This I know for sure. Paul David Tripp, in his Gospel Devotions book, uses the text from the Holy Bible as the basis of his research. For example, in one of his devotions, he's using and referring to 1 Corinthians 2, verses 1 through 4. And it's about the Spirit of God through Jesus as he walked among his disciples and the people of ancient times. And it's about how he demonstrated that God was with them when they were in fear, in weakness, and much trembling. Jesus demonstrated that the power was not in man, but in God. One of Tripp's morning devotional states, if you are a child or God's child, the gospel isn't an aspect of your life, it is your life. Meaning, it is the window through which you look at everything. Now let's fast forward to our times. Think of the internet, and the operating system is Windows. When I focus on self-awareness, I do so by creating a RARE model, which is based on research. RARE is an acronym for Research, Action, Resources, and Evaluation. That research starts with a question that seeks answers. And after all, I am a truth seeker. So here's my question as part of the first step to this 4-part plan and the first phase to creating my nonprofit. Is the soul only a human possession? Think about it. And while you think, I'm going to take a drink of water here. So, what if we embrace the idea that the soul does not end with us? The soul is this country, it's in this country, it's in this county, it's in this city, it's in the trees, and it's in nature. The soul is in the world as well as in nature, and we are all connected to it. When I take my morning walks, I am connecting with nature, the birds, the bees, the squirrels. The creation of the nonprofit Chattanooga Aquatic Project and Personal Development for me began from a dark moment in my life. And during the research of peeling back the layers of the Black culture, it became clear to me who I am. I am a child of God. While examining my passions, I came across statistics that do not paint a pretty picture of otherwise healthy people. African American children are 5 times more likely to drown in swimming pools compared to white children. And that's because they can't swim. And they lack the resources for swimming. We also know that marine life, such as the otter, the whale, the sea turtle, and coral reefs along the coastal waters of Florida, are dying and becoming extinct due to human activities. The gun violence in our communities is increasing, and the perpetrators are getting younger. The action for CAP is to teach, lead, and guide young people to a purpose. Teach them how to swim and scuba dive and appreciate the wonders of the streams, the rivers, the oceans, and to develop solutions to those marine life problems, as well as their own personal problems through the personal development workshops. The resources will require collaborative efforts among city-county governments, the administration of the Hamilton County Department of Education, the private sector, and other like-minded nonprofit organizations that are there for the purpose of the holistic development of the child. The outcome, the evaluation process of the RARE model, has been to surrender and forgive. CAP's vision is to become the business model for the most effective environmental protection, service learning, civic responsibility training, and personal development nonprofit for young people and families. CAP takes this transformation philosophy of leading, teaching, learning approach by guiding, directing, and providing purpose through aquatic activities and workshops. Through this process of self-awareness, CAP is helping our young children and families to find balance with mind, body, and spirit. Step 2, let it go and let God. Stop feeding yourself negative messages. Don't hold on to the thoughts of anger or self-pity or self-hatred. Your suffering isn't the result of persecution. Your suffering stems from your own misperceptions. You are blessed. You are a child of God. And you keep transforming your mess into a healing message of compassion. Forgiven is when I began to show compassion and respect for others. Recruiting children for CAP and exposing these children to aquatic activities is very rewarding for me. And every time I feel the pain of not knowing how to make ends meet, and that happens often lately, I think I just go through this meditation period. I let go and I move on, and voila, the answer always comes. The solution pops up. I start each day with loving awareness and compassion for myself. I meditate with a grateful heart. I focus on being better by doing better. Ask yourself, and this is the second question of the rare model process, what will be my good today? I had to learn how to move past negative judging thoughts. And we're all familiar with Sigmund Freud's model of the mind, the id, the ego, and the superego. It's an individual interaction with internal world, external world, and internal forces. So we must first acknowledge that the false judge is the ego. And ego is an acronym for edge God out. Let it go, let it go. And when you let go of that part of the mind, you move past human thoughts and into that realm of calm and peace and joy. This is where prayer and meditation comes in, where you learn to quiet the mind. However, the self is where enlightenment resides. And it is where I go within to listen to that inner voice that brings forth the guidance, the direction, and the purpose I seek. As Paul Tripp points out in his book of daily devotions, what we at Unity call affirmations, the outer world and our suffering are the misperceptions brought on by negative thoughts. Don't get me wrong, the horrible things that have been perpetrated among the Black culture, the Native Americans, the rich against the poor, the Mexicans, the Black on Black gun violence, the gang violence are all very real and can't be completely tuned out to silent, but to be silent to the ignorance and the problem of the outer world is to be complacent and complicit. But to take action is to love. To hold on to those negative thoughts is where the suffering comes from. Let it go. We don't forget, we simply let it go. And as Tripp states, if you are a child of God, the gospel isn't an aspect of your life, it is your life. That is the window through which you look at everything. And for me, I know that when I begin to see His grace, something comes over me. I am overflowed with joy. And occasionally when I tear up, trust me, those are just tears of joy. When I worry about how I'm going to make the next bill payment, I meditate. And sometimes, always, something comes through. Not sometimes, all the time. May not be when I want it to be, but it happens. Step 3, self-care. My thoughts are interconnected with the outcomes of my outer world. Thoughts drive my feelings, which leads to emotions and passions that are guided by compassion and empathy. And these feelings feed to ideals driven by my skills and talents, my God-given skills and talents. Ultimately, I create the world I live in, a world of love, peace, and joy. This is a process the world needs, a process that guides us and evolves from darkness to light. Think about the Bible, Old Testament. In the beginning was darkness, and then came the light. Thoughts. It is this process that helps me develop my purpose and understand who I am and how I connect with the world. From my inner core, that is my God, from my inner core comes that guidance that ultimately leads to my purpose for helping others, and helping others is the forgiveness. When I realized that the two people who murdered my brother were not the ones to forgive, but I must forgive myself, it took me back for a moment. Forgive me? Forgive me for allowing the hatred to come into that part of my thoughts, and those thoughts were wreaking havoc on my health. And when I came to the realization I could let go, and my world became one of purpose. Step 4, effective communications. Effectively communicating and effectively implementing this practice of balancing mind, body, and spirit in all that I do with measurable results is the real challenge. Subconsciousness is the inner realm where absolute truth resides, and consciousness is the outer realm. So what is absolute truth? God is good, omnipotent, and everywhere present. So again, are humans the only entity that possesses a soul? Nature has a soul as well. So when I am examining my passions, teaching, reading, facilitating workshops, and the world's needs, inspiration, clothing, food, shelter, peace, love, and then I connect all this with my God-given talents and potential, writing, facilitating workshops, public speaking, leading teams, organizing and coordinating, planning, listening, implementations. Then I come to my joy, my enthusiasm. The great philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson said it best: nothing great is ever achieved without enthusiasm. The work of creating a nonprofit while simultaneously studying Unity C courses have brought clarity and great energy to my soul. I can see clearly now, and I am able to connect the dots and hopefully communicate effectively my purpose. This realization and the creation of CAP has brought me full circle as I continue this journey of forgiveness. It has released the shackles that enslaved me. The bondage is gone. I am free to be me. I live for each day, and I ask, what will be my good today? Yes, my journey has brought me full circle to the return to self, where enlightenment resides, my mind. And mine is an attitude of gratitude. It is my honor and my pleasure to be here before you today to announce a decision I have been contemplating for the past several months. It has been a long journey for me to come to this space in my life. And so I asked, what took you so long? Life. But I also know only in God's time. I have been on this path for years now, working on a nonprofit project and taking C courses, all while approaching a doctorate at the University of Tennessee in education. I have met the prerequisites to become a licensed Unity teacher and study 2 more years, and I met the prerequisites to becoming an ordained minister and study 3 more years. These 2 questions got me to this point, and they are: what if we entertain the notion that humans are not the only entity that possesses a soul? What if we found that soul is in the world, in nature, and we are all connected as one? The dots were connected for me, and as a result, I applied for, drum roll, ministerial school through Unity Worldwide Ministries. That application process is now, and I should know around January if I've been accepted. Reverend Faye Ann and Reverend Doug have been my mentors. So keep me in your prayers, and also keep CAP in your prayers, because it is also a ministry of collaboration that is bringing peace and calm to the human soul of this community, one child, one family, and one step at a time. And just maybe, leading by example is the rare model that will catch on. I love you, Unity. And I love you for awakening me to the fact that life is meant to be good.
Yes.
Thank you. So I think at this point, we're going to get ready for our offerings. Oh, meditation. And then we go into our offerings. So if you will, make yourselves comfortable. Taking a deep breath. Close your eyes and imagine deep within you are connecting with that inner core. And you're looking for that enthusiasm that is there. Father, Mother God, Goddess, Great Spirit, we thank you. We thank you for bringing us together, whether online or in person. But nonetheless, we woke up this morning, and we woke up grateful to be here. Thank you. But more importantly, Father, Mother, Goddess, God, Great Spirit, we are grateful for you giving us your Son, Jesus, as the way shower. As we move through our days, as we move through the weeks, and as we move through the month, I know that I am covered, we are covered with your protection, with your love, and nothing could be better. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And let us all say, Amen.
You are a gift to the world. You are a blessed being made in the image of God. And no one will ever be as unique as you are. You're a gift to the world.
Thank you, Audrey, for sharing your journey with us. It's always amazing to me that makes me wonder if the darkness is there to lead us to the light. And I also have something else to tell you, that once your life has been touched by Spirit, there ain't no going back. So now is the time in our service when we get to share another part of our spiritual path, which is the path of dynamic living through prosperous thinking, by sharing our tithes and love offerings. And for those of you at home, we also have a lot of options for you to share as well. We have an online donation button at unityofchattanooga.org. You use your smartphone to donate to Venmo. You can also even mail a check. But the most important thing that I want all of you to know about giving is that when you give, you are actually blessing yourself. So I want you to take your love offerings in hand or in mind. And because I'm me, I don't always do things the way Doug does. I want to share with you my favorite offering blessing. And it's very short and simple. I give joyfully and easily, for God is my source and abundance is my nature. Please try and say that with me. I give joyfully and easily, for God is my source and abundance is my nature.
You are a gift to the world. You are a blessed being made in the image of love. And no one will ever be as unique as you are. You're a gift to the world. You are a gift to the world. You are a blessed being made in the image of God. And no one will ever be as unique as you are. You're a gift to the world.
So this morning we give gracious thanks for these generous gifts that go out to support the work of Unity of Chattanooga, in welcoming all of those who are ready to open up and awaken spiritually. Thank you, God, and so it is. So I have just a few things to share with you this morning. I want to remind you that we have prayer chaplains in house this morning that are available to pray with you. You'll notice that they're wearing purple shawls. Or we also have on the back table of prayer request sheets that you can fill out and put in the box. They will be prayed on by our prayer chaplains, and then we send them to Silent Unity, where they are actually held in prayer for 30 days. And during the week, don't forget our Midweek Faith Lift podcast with Shannon LeBron on Wednesday at 4 on our Facebook page. And we also have a group now that gathers at Whole Foods on Thursdays at 6 in the upper mezzanine. And it's a time of simple fellowship and a chance to get to know each other a little better out of church. Next Sunday, Rev Duck hopefully will be back here at the Red Bank Community Center, and we hope you will also. Following the service today, we invite you to join us for fellowship and food. And let me just say briefly that I'm here this morning because Fayanne was exposed to COVID on Thursday, and she felt for safety reasons she should stay home. And I also found out that Michael and Phaedra Roberts have been exposed to COVID. And so we just send our love and our light around anyone who right now is being exposed to anything that they don't want. So, in order of safety, we're just going to stand today and sing the peace song.
Let there be peace on earth and let joy begin with me. Let there be the peace that was meant to be with God our Creator in oneness Christ all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And now our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us.
The love of God
encloses
enfolds us.
us.
The power of God
God
protects us.
protects us.
The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. That was a slow prayer.
Go forth with enthusiasm.